Well, shalom, shalom, Mishpachah. I hope that everyone is doing well today on this. Well, for us, it's a rainy evening, but I'm grateful to the Most High for being here today or this evening to give all praises and glory unto His name, and to meet with you all again. It's always a pleasure to meet with my Hebrew family, that we could go through the Word and learn more things about our special. I greet you all in the name of the Most High, our soon coming King, and I pray that everyone has been in excellent health. My Isha is here with me and for me tonight as we explore the Gentiles. We talked about this last week, going through John 3:16, and this evening we're going to cover an overview about the Gentiles to get a better understanding of an area that our people have been struggling with, and hopefully we have so much to really talk about. But what I want to do this evening is a little more detail as far as the Gentiles is concerned. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to open with a word of this conference, this live stream teaching, and bless all of you all in Yeshua's name. And I'm going to say the blessing of the Messiah first in the language of our forefathers and also the language of our captivity. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nasiach Yehoshua. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has given us the way to salvation in Moshiach Yehoshua. Abba, I'm grateful you so much for providing for all our needs, for guiding us throughout the week, for helping our families, that we can be strong to abide in your word. And Father, at this time, I'm scattered all over this earth, that you bless us and keep us and strengthen us and continue to be with us through these difficult times, and to continue to inspire our hearts that we can always be hungry for your word, to learn, to reach out, and to love. I also ask, Father, to remember those of our brothers and sisters who have been sick. You know them by name. I ask you, Father, that you will heal them completely. Those of our brothers and sisters who may be lying in a hospital right now, I pray that you will rescue them. Those who may have gone through some sort of surgery, that you will heal them completely and give the doctors wisdom, give them understanding, because they are putting their hands on one of your chosen children. May your name be praised forever together. We thank you, we love you, our King, in Yeshua's name. Amen. So, grateful once again to be here with you all. Our discussion about who are these Gentiles. Who are the Gentiles according to what the scriptures are saying. Before I do that, just one quick news piece that I saw that I had to bring it out. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I think it's important for me just to things in this news piece. And this is in the news yesterday, October the 1st, 2015, in CNET news magazine. And in it, I'm going to show you what it says here. Speaking about Google executives. The Google executives, okay? They're the Google executives. With robots in our brains, we'll be godlike. Futurist and Google executive Ray Kurzweil. I guess we'll be funnier, sexier, more loving, because that's what artificial intelligence can do for you. And want us to become more like gods. And I'll touch on this at another time, because this is really up the alley of what we're going to be talking about tonight as far as Gentiles is concerned. There's a reason why the Most High says what he says. It can never change. All right? His word can never change. There's a reason why he marked certain people for himself. In this it says, this is what he says. He says, evolution creates structures and patterns that over time are more complicated, more knowledgeable, more intelligent, more creative, more capable of expressing high. So it's moving in the direction that God has been described as having these qualities without limit. He says, yes, we are becoming God, and makes us more godlike, was Kurzweil's conclusion. Egocentric in suggesting that man will soon be God, thanks to artificial intelligence. And they believe that this will happen within a few years' time. Brothers and sisters, speaks about mankind, that their minds were set, okay? Their imaginations was nothing but evil continually. And the Most High had to come down and pay a very special visit. And he is in control of everything on the face of this earth. And though men may think that technology is going to bring them to become godlike, to know good and evil, to have the all-knowing, all-seeing analogies, equations, and mathematics, and all those different things, the Most High says, okay, you lift yourself up, I'm going to bring you down. We're speaking about Gentiles, and you can take a good look. All right, you can take a good look of a certain people on the face of this earth whose imagination is always about evil and destructive. Okay? So let's get right into our class for tonight. And let's take a look at who are the Gentiles, a biblical perspective about the Gentiles, the Goyim. All right? So we are going to be using the 66 books. We're going to be using the Apocrypha. My Apocrypha is included in this Bible here. Okay? We're also going to be using the Book of Jubilees. Okay? Book of Jubilees. We're going to be using, well, I'm not going to use Enoch, but also we're going to be using the Book of Jasher. The Book of Jasher. Now, these books are very important books. These are ancient scrolls. We have had classes about why it was never included in the 66 books that we call the Old and New Testament. But that's another class. We can talk about that another time. So let's get right into it. Who are these Gentiles? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is, first thing I like to do is to identify that from Adam until Noah, when you read the book of Genesis, chapter 4, okay, to about chapter 9, say about 18, you don't find any mentioning of nation groups, okay, nations, like to identify, well, these people are Germans, these people are Dutch, Spanish, South Africans, Chinese, Japanese. You don't find that, okay? In the scriptures, the first three chapters of the book of Genesis, what you find is just families like sons and daughters and things like that, references along those lines, all right? So it's only when we come to the book of Genesis chapter 9 at 18 and 19, that's where we start to see a reference. And the references, of course, go there real quick. Canaan, okay? When Noah spoke against Ham, okay, for what happened, okay, and the curse that went out, we can see a curse went to Ham's offspring, which is Canaan. All right, so that's where you can see the first mention of a nation people. All right, here in this particular part. So what we're going to do tonight, brothers and sisters, as I said before, we're going to try to do an overview, go through the Bible from the beginning all the way through, and get a kind of general overview of the understanding about Gentiles, okay, in context. All right, so we're going to examine the different categories. But before we do that, we have to go to where the nations were established in the book of Genesis. So we're going to be looking at the table of nations according to the scriptures. And we're going to start at the book of Genesis chapter 10, verses 1. Okay, we're going to start at 1. I'm going to read from 1 to verses 5. And we broke it out. It's broken out basically by the three sons of Noah. The three sons that came over on the other side of the flood. The survivors, okay? It's through these three sons that the Most High established the nations. All right? So let's go ahead and read that. Genesis chapter 10. We're going to start from verses 1 to verses 5. And this is where we're going to find the first mention of the nations. And after that, you have subdivisions that's broken out and things like that. But these are the main ones that the Bible wants us to focus on, because these nations are also important when it comes to biblical prophecy. All right? A lot of us think that these people have disappeared because we have new names like Americans, British, all these different names. But brothers and sisters, the same people that exist back then are still alive today. They may have different names, but they're still alive today. And that's why history and research is so important as part of our biblical understanding, so we can understand prophecy, who we have to deal with, and all those different things, okay? So let's go right to it. Genesis chapter 10, verses 1 to verses 5.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and Togarmah. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families in their nations.
All right, so the Bible has identified where the Gentiles, the original mentioning of the Gentiles is right here, okay? So it says the sons of Japheth. Now, what I want everyone to really see here, you have a very thick book called a Bible. It's starting off by letting us know about the families that make the nations of this earth, that populate the earth after the flood, right? When we read the book of Genesis chapter 10, we have altogether 32 verses, but you can exclude verses 1, so you can say 31 verses, and you can actually exclude verses 32. So let's round it off to about 30 verses, right? Because 1 starts off and 32 closes up that particular chapter. But when you look at who is mentioned as far as the family of Japheth, there isn't much information. You got verse 2, that's 1, verse 3, 2, 4, and 5. You got 4 verses that speak about Japheth's family, who are also known as the Gentiles. Okay? Then when you go to the other verses, you got more. Now the question is, why is that? Because according to the Holy Scriptures, the set-apart scriptures that we have, there has been interaction. Israel has interacted. Their history has been intertwined with only the sons of Shem. Okay, Shem, the Shemites and the Hamites are the ones who have been historically interacting with each other. All right. As far as Japheth is concerned, very little interaction. All right. So that's important to keep in mind. That's very important to keep in mind, all right? So now, verses 5 says, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands. So the Most High is letting us know that there is a division or a boundary that separates the people, everyone after his tongue, after their families, in their nations. All right? I also put in bold, if you can see it, Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz in verses 3. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. Okay? Ashkenaz is very important. Because, and let me give this piece of homework for our listeners, right? Do a Google search. Type in the word Ashkenaz. And just look at the pictures. Look at the words. Look at who shows up. And then you'll have an idea that helps you to understand who are the real Israelites versus who are the imposters, okay? So I'll leave that for you. That's your little personal homework that you can do. Now let's continue on to verses 6 to verses 10. Let's see, verses 6. Yeah, verses 6 to verses 10. Now we are going to get into the nations that came out from Ham. Okay? So go ahead and read for me verses 6 to verses 10.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta, and Rahmah, and Sabteka, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan.
Mm-hmm.
And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar.
Now this is important. I underline Cush begat Nimrod for a reason, and let me explain why. First of all, every biblical scholar know that the Hamitic people were a people of dark color. Okay, they have it in their records. They identify with that, but we can see that Cush, who started that empire, the first cities was formed by Cush. The Tower of Babel, okay, the kingdom of Babel was formed by Cush, by Nimrod, and Nimrod existed in a particular place, the same area that Abraham existed. All right, just keep that in mind. So you have the families of these dark people, nations that existed in Babylon, Babel, okay, Erech, Akkad, Calneh, Shinar. So you look at those places, and that will take you over in Iraq and northern Iraq area, okay? That's the place where people of dark complexion had existed. That's an historical fact, okay? So Nimrod was the one who founded the first towers and buildings and things like that, all right? And he came out from Ham, all right? That's important because now we could understand that from that lineage, the people that had relationships or that coexisted with each other was the Shemitic people that lived in that area also, and also the Hamitic people that lived in that area. All right, we'll look at a chart in a moment, but we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because that's a whole nother topic. But let's continue on to verses 11 to verses 16.
Out of that land went forth Ashur, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth and Calah.
Mm-hmm.
And Rezin between Nineveh and Calah, the same is a great city.
Now pause for a moment, because when you read the book of Kings, when you read 1st and 2nd Kings, Chronicles, Isaiah, when you read these books, okay, you will see certain names that pops up, like Rezin, like Asher, the Assyrians, Nineveh, where Jonah went to. That's where the Hamitic people existed, the people of Ham, the dark people, okay? Keep that in mind. So, if you don't know these important things, when you read about Babylon, you're going to be thinking, okay, some European built that place. You're going to be thinking, in your mind, you're reading this, but in your mind, you're picturing Charleston Heston or someone like that, some actor. All right? You'd be thinking that the Assyrians were people that looked like Europeans. No, brothers and sisters. Okay, that's contrary, according to history. And the archaeological finds, it's against that too. So these names are very important. If you miss out the beginning and you jump to the New Testament, you're not going to have a good understanding. It's always good to look at the facts. All right, so continue where you stopped. I think verse 13.
Verse 13.
Okay.
And Mizraim begat Ludim, and Ananim, and Libanim, and Naphtuim.
Can you tell me tell the audience who is Mizraim?
Egypt.
Egypt. Thank you. Egypt. Mizraim is Egypt. That's the ancient name for Egypt. Egypt is just a Greek word that came about later on, but the original name is Mizraim. Okay? Read on.
And Pathrushim and Cashluhim, out of whom came Philistine, and Caphtorim. And Canaan begat Zidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Girgashite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Shinite.
All right.
And
read
19?
On. Yeah, go ahead. So verses 20.
Verse 20. And the Aradites, and the Zimrarites, and the Hamathites, and afterwards were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad.
So here we got the Canaanites. There were so many nations of Canaanites that lived within certain places. They were spread all over that region, okay? All over that region. And maybe one of these days we can probably do a class showing where the people actually lived on a map so we can actually see. All right, so these, the Canaanites were very important characters in the Bible when we read it. They had wars between Israel and the Canaanites, Samson and those Canaanites, the Philistines, okay? Verses 19.
And the border of the Canaanites was from Zidon, as thou comest to Gera unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah, and Zeboim, even unto Lasha. So
we can see here that even under the umbrella of the Hamitic people, you find Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, they were all Hamitic families. Verses 20.
These are the sons of Ham after their families, after their tongues, in their countries, and in their nations.
See that? So we have quite a few verses here that spends a little time with Ham. We also find the equivalent with Shem, but very few with Japheth, the family of Japheth. And we see that the first rendering of the word Gentiles occur under the family of Japheth. That's important because that's where we set everything up to understanding, biblical prophecy and whatnot. Okay, so now let's go to verses 21 to verses 25. Genesis chapter 10. For those of you joining us, we're going to start at verses 21 to verses 25 when we're dealing with the family of Shem. Okay, let's read.
Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Asher,
Mm-hmm.
and Aphaxad, and Lud, and Aram.
Mm-hmm.
And the children of Aram, Uz, and Hul, and Getha, and Mash.
Mm-hmm.
And Aphaxad begat Salah, and Salah begat Eber. And unto Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided. And his brother's name was Joktan.
Or Yoktan. Now this is important, brothers and sisters, because now we can see how the Bible is transitioning from just regular mankind, and it becomes very personal into a particular people. It's basically boiling down to a certain people under the person or the character Eber. Eber is where we have the term Hebrew. Okay? Eber. This is where the term Hebrew derives from. So verse 25 says that, and unto Eber were born 2 sons. So the Bible is identifying the seed line that the Most High started to work with, okay, through Noah, through Shem, coming all the way down to Eber, and now the story begins to branch off into certain specific peoples that the Most High has out of his garden. He starts to work with only a particular choice, the choice seed from this particular garden that he has grown, okay? So it says here that in his days, the earth was divided. Now, as far as division is concerned, it's speaking about the peoples, okay? The names of the peoples that occupy the earth. And we have something to look at in Deuteronomy 32, 7 and 9 in a moment. But let's continue on to verses 26 to verses 31.
Verse 26. And Joktan begat Almodad,
Mm-hmm.
and Sheleph, and Hazar Marveth, and Jerah, and Hadaram, and Uzal, and Dikla, and Obal, and Abimal, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan.
Mm-hmm.
And their dwelling was from Mesha, as thou goest unto Sephra, a mount of the east. These are the sons of Shem after their families, after their tongues, in their lands, after their nations.
All right. So the Bible is letting us know the families. We don't see anything mentioned here about Gentiles as yet. But as time progresses, we will see how the Bible defines itself, okay? And but the original reference about the Gentiles is found under the family of Japheth. Let's read verses 32.
These are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations in their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood.
All right, so once again, the Bible is letting us know the division of the nations of the people that came out from the 3 sons of Noah. I have a basic chart in front of you that you can see up on the screen, and it's color-coded in green, yellow, and also red. Now, it's interesting how the colors are. All right, so Japheth. If you look at the screen, you'll see all the areas that are in the red. That's pretty much where, according to the historians, that Japhet had occupied. And that area is called Europe. We'll look at that again shortly, right? And then it shows the Shemitic peoples. The Shemitic people that has pretty much the Arabian Peninsula and going as far as over to Iran and those places over there. And then also into Canaan. And then you have the Hamitic people that goes into only a certain part of Africa. Now, it's a little foolish for people to, maybe that's a wrong choice of word, but we have people who believe that all of Africa was populated. But I believe that only a certain part of Africa at that particular time was populated. So the Hamitic family settled in certain parts of Africa, but not just there alone. They also settle in certain places where the Shemitic families also reside. That's why we find Cush. We find Nimrod, who came out from Cush. He was living towards the east, all right, in Iraq. That's where he resided. And that's where the Shemitic family also resided. So his territory was pretty vast. And you can see that Ham had a very vast territory, all right? So like Ethiopia, Mizraim, which is Egypt, Libya, Canaan, the tip of Arabia, some parts of north of Canaan, that's towards Syria, some parts of Iraq, those places. That's where the families of Ham pretty much settle, okay? All right. So now, I have another slide here that you can look at. And it gives a basic breakdown about these families. And let's start with Japheth. Okay, so Book of Genesis chapter 10 verses 2 to 5 mentions about seven sons of Japheth. And it's identified that these sons resided in Europe and parts of Asia. For example, Gomer, that is mentioned, Gomer is where the French, the Spanish, the German people, and also the Welsh people from the Isles of Wales up in Great Britain derive, okay? Gomer, that's where you have your French, okay? That's France, Spain, Germany, and Wales. That's the people that came out from Japheth, okay? Magog, you have Romania and also the Ukraine. That's the southern Russian area. You have Madai, which is north of Iran, the northern area, in Asia, okay, which is Medes or Iran. Then you have Javan, which is identified as the Grecian or the Greeks area, that area where the Greeks existed. And we'll get into that because that is a history that you'll find pretty interesting, okay? Kiefer said there's some background noise. Okay. Give me 1 second, Kiefer. If anyone is okay. If anyone is listening, you may want to just mute your phone because there may be a little bit of background noise in your area until later on when there's an opportunity for you to share something. You can unmute your phone, but just keep in mind to minimize the noises for others that if they want to hear. If you have any children, if you have any noises in your area, just mute your phone so we can open up, keep the line open for everyone to hear. Okay, let's see. Let's make sure. All right. Okay, because I don't want to mute anyone's phone. All right. All right, great. All right, good. So he's saying I'm pretty clear. All right, great. So let's go back now. So Javan is the area of the Greek area. Okay. Then you have Tubal, and Tubal is primarily the Georgian area, which is also part of the Russian Empire. Okay. You have Meshech, which is Moscow, Russia itself, the heart of Russia, Mother Russia, according to the Russians. That's Meshech, okay, or Meshech. Then you have Taras, which is, I guess, the Macedonia area, which is close to Greece, north of Greece into Yugoslavia, Okay, that's also the area of Tiras. So that's pretty much the areas of that is considered to be European. There's a little bit more in there, like England and Ireland and all those places. That's all part of the same. It's broken down a little bit more. So there's a lot of information on that, and those are the areas of the Gentiles that the Bible says in the book of Genesis, chapter 10, verses 2 to verses 5. Now let's look at Ham. Cush, which is under the son of Ham. Cush is Ethiopia. You have Mizraim, we talked about that. That's Egypt. Put, which is Libya. Canaan, you have all the different places, the Hittites, the Heth, Jebusites, the Amorites, those places, those are all Canaanite nations, all right? That's found in the book of Genesis, chapter 10, 6 to verses 20. Now let's go to Shem. Under Shem, you have Elam, which is Iran area, southern Iran area. You have Asher, which is the Assyrian nation, which is above Iraq towards the west side, northwest, okay, area. Arkoksad, I'm probably pronouncing it incorrect, which is Chaldea, Eber, Yoktan, that area, in the east, okay, towards Iraq area. Then you have Yoktan, which is Arabia. Lud, which is Lydia. Aram, which is Syria. Okay, so these, it's kind of broken up in between Cush and, or the sons of Ham and things like that, but it mostly towards the east, okay, and the Middle East area. That's the general overview of the sons of Noah, the offspring of the sons of Noah, the grandchildren that occupied or build the foundations of the nations that we call today peoples, all right? So now, we're going to look at the blueprint that the Most High set up, his plan of division, all right? We're going to look at some scriptures. We're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. We're going to read verses 7 to verses 9 to see that right at the beginning, the Most High already had a blueprint to separate these nations or these peoples, these families that came from the three sons of Noah. It was part of his plan to build nations, to separate people and cause them to be different peoples, okay, for a reason. So we're going to look at that. We're also going to go to Sirach, and we're going to grab the book of Jasher likewise. So let's take a look at the Most High's plan of division, because it says during the time of Eber, Peleg, which came out from Eber, that for in his days was the earth divided. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 7 to verses 9. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 7 to verses 9. Go ahead and read.
Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations.
Mm-hmm.
Ask thy father, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. When the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel.
All right, hold on. So what we can see here, brothers and sisters, is that it's called predestination. It was destiny. It was part of his blueprint or his plan to separate the nations, okay? And in his mind, Israel was already foreordained or predestined to begin with. He already had an agenda at hand where he says here, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, so we can see up until Genesis chapter 9, verses 18, it was all just dealing with sons and daughters of Adam, the offsprings and stuff like that. But after that, it began to change into the conversation about nations and peoples, all right? So he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. The Bible is saying that in the book of Genesis, chapter 10, under Eber, all right, after the flood, the Most High divided the nations. So even as way back as that particular time, it was the Most High already foreordained or predestined that Israel was to come out from this man called Eber, that Israel was to be part of a special plan that he has in store. Okay? So let's read on verses 9.
For the Lord's portion is his people.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob is the lot of his inheritance.
So right at the beginning, if we can start at the beginning of the nations of this earth and see that the Most High already had his intentions for Israel to be his portion before Abraham was even born, before there was even a Jacob, before there was even a 12 tribes of Israel, even before the Messiah walked this earth in the flesh, okay, he already ordained Israel. And as it was in the beginning, so it's going to be also in the end. And that's why it's so important to follow things from the beginning. No one is going to walk into a college without and sit down in a college classroom to learn anything unless you have had the educational experience of going through kindergarten, Head Start, kindergarten, first grade, what you call elementary, going through the process of education until you rise up to a certain level. Then you can sit within the college and you can have questions, discussions, and learn new things. Higher learning is called. Higher learning. So the books, the letters of Paul, not books, but letters. These are all letters. That's what it's called, epistles. People have turned those epistles into books, okay? And now they're saying that, okay, we're going to use that and ignore everything else. How can you understand the letters of Paul without first going into grade school and learning all these basic things and coming up to the level? Because Paul didn't have a New Testament. Paul was quoting everything that he quoted was from the Old Testament, what you call the Old Testament. Okay, the Tanakh, which includes the apocryphal books. Okay, the books that they left out. So, this is why we are having this study tonight, to lay the foundation, to get a better understanding, because too many times our people have a right of, what about the Gentiles? Gentiles this, Gentiles that, and they have no understanding. So hopefully tonight we can be able to bring some understanding in this matter. So verse 7 once again says, to remember the days of old. The Most High always wants us to go back to the past. Always go back to the past. That's the best formula for understanding anything. All right? And that's, we go and we ask our parents, Daddy, Ma, what was it like? Okay? We ask our grandparents, what was it like? And they will tell you, oh, food was much better. Water was fresh. You know, chicken used to taste like chicken. Potatoes didn't smell like fish because of some gene that they put in there. You know, this is how life used to be. Relationships used to be such like. All right? We always go back to the past so we can know what the future is all about. All right? So the Bible says in Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verses 9, for the Lord's portion is who? His people. Yaakov or Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. All right? So now, for in his days was the earth divided. That's what the Bible says. Let's look at that also in Sirach, which is in Apocrypha, chapter 17 and verses 17 and 18. Ecclesiasticus chapter 17, we're going to read verses 17 and verses 18. All right, go ahead and read.
For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. But Israel is the Lord's portion. whom being his firstborn, he nourisheth with discipline, and giving him the light of his love, doeth not forsake him.
You know what makes a firstborn really a firstborn according to the scriptures? Because Israel, or the nation of Israel, was really not a firstborn when you look at it as far as nations is concerned. There were other nations that were there before Israel came on the scene, okay? But it's because of an inheritance. When the Most High gives an inheritance, it identifies a certain level of love, okay? And he gave that inheritance to, when he gave that inheritance to Israel, they became his firstborn, even though they were not firstborn. So Sirach is saying, for in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. So every nation had their kings and stuff like that. But the Most High was always to be Israel's king. All right? It has always been predestined that we will deal directly with the Most High, directly with him. That's why when Israel started to murmur and complain, we want to be like the nations. He says, okay, you want to be like the nations? We'll give you a king. Then we have Shaul. Then what did he do? He started off okay. Then he started to become just like the nations. The Most High had to remove him and put in David. And then establish through David a certain seed line that will go right back to the one who should be ruling to begin with, which is the Messiah. Okay? So it was always part of the plan. Most High knows what he's doing. And if you look carefully, the Most High kept those that was personal with him among Israel. Imagine, Shaul was a Benjamite. David was from Judah. What two tribes did the Most High preserve together in one kingdom? Benjamin and Judah. You see? That's why he never broke them apart. He kept them together because of another level of being, what's the word I'm looking for? Intimate. Okay? A level of intimacy. All right. So now let's go to Jasher, the book of Jasher. The book of Jasher, we're going to go, book of Jasher, to chapter 7, verses 19 and verses 20. Jasher chapter, and the book of Jasher is mentioned in the book of Joshua. Yasher means, there was no J in the Hebrew. There's no J in the Hebrew. So it's called Yashar, which is simply upright. The book of the upright ones. And it contains the history from Genesis all the way to the time of Joshua. All right? The history of Israel. So it has some additional information in here that helps us to understand. And as you can see, Deuteronomy says one thing. Sirach backs up the same thing. Now let's see what the book of Yasher or Jasher says. Jasher chapter 7, verses 19 and verses 20.
These are the generation of Shem. Shem begot Aphaxad, and Aphaxad begot Shelah, and Shelah begot Eber, and to Eber were born two children. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days the sons of men were divided, and in the latter days the earth was divided.
See that? And that's a piece of prophecy there too. Read verses 20.
And the name of the second was Yoktan, meaning that in his days he lives of the sons of men were diminished.
Read it again, verses 20.
Lives, sorry. Verses 20. And the name of the second was Yoktan, meaning that in his day the lives of the sons of men were diminished and lessened.
See that? So the names are very important. It has meaning. And it's letting us know. It's like a roadmap. It's like breadcrumbs leading to somewhere. And it's letting us know that men are starting to diminish in age. Men are starting to diminish in many different ways. Not just age, but also mindset. Okay? And that's the reason why you find a diminishing of men. But the difference is that when the Most High chose Israel, the Torah, his word, his ruach, his spirit, kept Israel to be above the nations because the secrets of the Most High was exposed or revealed to Israel. While the nations were going down, Israel was to rise up as a special people, or to be that light that is burning. All right? So now, let's put Jasher aside for a moment, and we're going to look at the original, once again, Gentiles, usage. We're going to break it down, and I have basically 4 categories of Gentiles, okay? So the first one, the original one, is Japheth. Japheth was the original one. Now, according to the book of Josephus that I have here in front of me, book of Josephus, it's a very good book. It's pretty thick. Has, let me tell you how many pages in here. This particular copy that I have has over 1,100, pages in this book. The print is pretty small, so you can tell that this has a lot of information in it. And this is one of our ancient writings that gives us, it parallels the Bible in many ways. It gives us the details of certain events that happen or occurs within the scriptures. So with this book, we can get a better view or understanding of the occurrence within the Bible. So according to Josephus, it says, quote, Japhet or Japheth, the son of Noah, had 7 sons. They inhabited so that beginning at the mountains of Taurus, on Amanus, they proceeded along Asia as far as the river Tanis or Don, and along Europe to Cadiz, and settling themselves on the lands which they light upon, which none had inhabited before. They call the nations by their own names. So what the book of Josephus is saying, and Josephus was a Hebrew, okay, during the time of the destruction of Jerusalem. Remember when Yeshua said in Matthew 24 that Jerusalem will be surrounded by the Gentiles and destroyed? Josephus lived during that time when Jerusalem was surrounded and destroyed. He also fought against the Roman army, but then he was found held up in a cave, and I believe it was Titus, or Titus' son, one of the two, can't remember off the top of my head, that found or had him trapped. And, sometimes among generals, they would have a diplomatic surrender. So he surrendered, Josephus surrendered, and as part of the diplomacy at that time, they allowed him to write they brought him in. His name was changed to Josephus, which is a Latinized version. They allowed him to write the history for their records of Israel. And that's what he did. He wrote a complete history from Genesis all the way down to the destruction of Jerusalem. All right? And until he died. So he wrote a history of all the different things that our people went through. Okay? So now, he's saying that the Europeans are from the seed of Japhet. Okay? So that's the lands that Japheth had occupied. Now, there are some other writers that's out there, and one of them is a Catholic priest. His name is Jerome, Saint Jerome. And Jerome was very learned in Hebrew. As a matter of fact, he was one of the Catholic theologians at the time who identified that the book of Matthew was written in Hebrew. Okay? Because he had a Latin copy of the book of Matthew, and he was reading it, and when he came to Jerusalem to study, he realized that there were a Hebrew version of the book, and when he compared, he realized that his book was, his Roman copy or version of the book was contaminated or corrupt. There was stuff missing in it. And he actually wrote a letter to the Pope saying, hey, we got to correct this thing because what we have is corrupt. All right, well, that's another class. So Jerome now gave an account also. And Isidore of Seville, Spain, give an account of the seed of Japhet, okay, Japhet, which is the original meaning of the Gentiles or identity of the Gentiles, okay. So what they said, they identified that Gomer, which is the Scythians, the Turks from Turkey, the Serbians down over in Yugoslavia, you got the Croats, the Armenians, the Welsh people, the Picts, the Irish, the Germans, okay? Magog. They also include some of the Scythians, the Goths, the Swedish people, the Finnish people, the Huns, the Slavic people, the Magyars, which are the Hungarians, and also the Irish are on the Magog, okay? Madai, Mitanni, Mani, the Medes, more generally Persians, or even more generally Indo-Aryans. So that northern area, because what we see now on the map is not how it used to be. All right, we have to get that out of our minds. Things change all the time. Men conquer different nations and put their names on it and occupy space and things like that, right? Javan is also known as the Ionians or the Greeks. Then you have Tubal, which is Tabili, Circassians, Georgians, Italics, the Iberians, which is Spain, the Basque. Basque people are part of the Spanish, the Spain territory, but the Basque were separate from the Iberians, all right? But when these kings who occupied these areas conquered another part of Spain, they changed the names, they absorbed. Now, if you do any research, you'll see that today the Basque people are fighting for their own independence from Spain. They want to break away from Spain, just like the Scottish people want to break away from the under the flag of Great Britain, because they are a separate people. All right. Now you have Meshech, which is mentioned in the sons of Japhet, the Thracians, Etruscans, Goths, Jutes, Teutons, which are the Germans. Okay, so these are some of the breakdowns of the nations that we call today Europeans. All right, and I have a map, a facial map up on the screen you can look at. What certain facial images of the same peoples that are called Europa or Europeans today, and the places that they occupy, so you can get another view of what they look like. All right, so let's move on. So that's basically the original rendering, as we said before, of the Gentiles. Now let's look at the second rendering of this, okay? Second or rendering of the Gentiles, the usage of the word Gentiles applies to Ishmael and also Esau or Edom. So now let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 25, verses 12 to verses 16. Genesis chapter 25, verses 12 to 16. So we saw the first rendering, right? Genesis chapter 10. Now we're going to go into the seed of Abraham that the Most High did not give a covenant, an everlasting covenant with, okay? And that's the two sons, Ishmael, right? Because it was Ishmael and Isaac. Ishmael did not get the blessing. It went to Isaac. And then from Isaac, you had Jacob and Esau. The blessing didn't go to Esau. It actually went to Jacob. So these two. Okay, someone has some music. I'm not sure who that is. Brother Shamar, I'm not sure who that is that has some music coming through. I'm going to mute everyone's line. Okay. Let me know if that's better. Let me know if that is better. Okay. I'll go ahead and do that then. I'll mute all the phones. Give me 1 second. I'll open up the lines. I'll mute. Okay, I'll mute the lines. Okay. All right. I hope this is better. Okay, so I've muted all the lines so that to prevent any unnecessary background noises and stuff. So let me know if it's better, Brother Shema. Okay, so let's look at Genesis chapter 25, verses 12 to verses 16. All right. So go ahead and read for me.
Verses 12. Now these are the generation of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham.
Okay.
And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam.
Yeah. Some of these names are tongue twisters. Go ahead.
And Mishma, and Duma, and Massa, Hadar, and Tima, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedama. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns, and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations.
All right. So we can see that Ishmael became a very powerful man, and he had 12 princes that came out, and they were called nations. Okay, that's important, brothers and sisters, because we are setting things up to see how it transitions and they become part of the Gentiles according to Scripture. All right. So now let's continue. Let's go to let's see here. Let's go down to verses 19 to verses 34.
Okay.
Let's see if I want to go there. Yeah.
And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rivkah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rivkah his wife conceived. All
right, pause for a second. So now, earlier we looked at Ishmael. Now we're looking at Esau, or Edom. Okay? So we can see now Isaac asked the Most High for a special blessing, and the Most High opened the womb of his wife, and she conceived. Okay? So now let's continue, verses 22.
And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus?
Why am I having such a hard time with this pregnancy? That's her question. Because my husband prayed, the Most High blessed us. So why is things so difficult? I thought it was supposed to be easy, like when you ask the Most High for blessing, that it should be smooth sailing, no problem. I can eat whatever, I can go to bed, no problem. But in this particular case, something unusual or interesting was happening. Read on.
And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from your bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Now the Most High is saying this out of his own mouth to this young lady. He's saying that these children are not one family. They are 2 separate nations. 2 nations are in your womb. 2 manner, 2 different people will be separated from your womb. Right? One will be stronger than the other people. One has to serve. Now, that's a difficult thing for our people to understand. But this is the Most High's blueprint. He's setting things up, how the earth should operate, right? Why can't we accept the things that he set up? Why do we have to try to sanitize his word? Because of feelings, because of offense. It is what it is. The word is The word. Remember, this is a Hebrew book. This is not a German book. This is not a Russian book. This is a Hebrew book. And the story starts off with Adam, transition into the sons of Adam, and breaks out into nations. From there, the Most High starts to change everything up and focus on Israel and everything else that pertains, that affects Israel. All right? So, two different people. Read on. Verse 24.
Verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb.
It doesn't mean that they look the same, brothers and sisters. The Bible explains. Verses 25.
And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment.
Now check this out. Hold on one second. This is the first reference to someone being red. Now, it doesn't mean to say that there weren't other people that was red, but the Bible is making a specific indication here for a reason. Okay? It's making a note for a reason. Now, the Bible also mentions Laban or Laban. Laban means white. Okay? But they all have different meanings. So now it's giving us some detail. It doesn't say anything about the color of Jacob. All right? So continue. Read that again, verse 25.
And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau.
He was hairy and he was red all over. Verses 26.
And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them.
Now, all of these things that occurred, the holding of his heel, that was a piece of prophecy. The book of Ezra actually talks about that this was a prophetical indicator to us to let us know that this is a war of who will rule the earth. And that Jacob, Esau is going to come out first. He will rule for a time. But the end of the world will be the end of Esau. And the world that's going to be in the future under the Messiah is going to be under Jacob. All right? So who is in control of this earth right now? If we're in the last days and the world hasn't ended yet, but we're in the last days, the latter days, and the Bible is telling us in the book of Ezra that afterwards, then who's in control of it? We will get that understanding as we go through to the complexion, the look of Yaakov, for good reason. Read on, verses 27.
And the boy...
It's a very important piece, that he was a cunning hunter. It speaks of the character, because in our history, and we talked about this in the class that I put out some time ago, where only one people on this earth, they have to hunt for something. They're always hunting. And they're never satisfied. They must conquer or they get bored. They must go buy weapons or they get bored. Okay? So let's continue. Genesis 25, 25 verses 27.
And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison. But Rivkah loved Jacob. And Jacob sought pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom.
All right. Now that's a whole other class to get into the details. A couple interesting notes that I want to make here is that the Bible mentions that one dealt with the field and one dealt with the tents. And that's a Hebraic or Hebraism that identifies one who deals with the Torah versus one who is in worldly. The field is always pertaining to the world. The field is the world. But those who deal with tents or baites is basically dealing with the Torah, those who comes into the tabernacle. Okay? So Jacob was one who stays in the word, while Esau was one who was reckless and wild. Let's continue verses 31 to verses 34.
And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day, And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
What I mean by despise is that this man had no regard to something so sacred and special, the birthright. Who has the birthright controls. There's an inheritance. It may seem like it's nothing, but there's a lot of power prophetically behind this birthright. Now, there are certain theologians that say that Jacob stole. Jacob did not steal anything. They made an agreement. Esau simply said, sure, I'm going to die, so this has nothing. If I'm going to die, it's going to be left behind. I'm about to die, so I'll give it up. It's a fair trade. Food for my life. And that's what he did. You see, but the man was cunning. He wanted to have it both ways. He wants to be fed, and then later on he wants to come back, right, and says, well, I'm the firstborn, I need to get this. He never stuck to any of his agreement. And today there's a people on the face of this earth who makes policies and they break it every single time. Our people have been scattered, and they have always been responsible for breaking the contracts they have made with our people over and over again. All right? So now, let's leave that. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 36, and we're going to read some more about Edom. How Edom, because we're building a foundation here about the Gentiles. We already looked at Japheth, the Europeans, as being the Gentiles. That's the first rendering of the term. Europeans, Gentiles. Now we're looking at the sons that came out from Abraham and Isaac, okay, as becoming Gentiles. The word is going to explain itself. So now let's see what the Bible says in Genesis 36, verses 1 to 5, with regards to Esau. Go ahead and read.
Now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom.
Mm-hmm.
Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adah the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah the daughter of Anah the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite,
Mm-hmm.
and Bashemath Ishmael's daughter, sister of Nebajoth. And Adah bare to Esau Eliphaz, and Bashemath bare Reuel. And Aholibamah bare Jeosh, and Jaalam, and Korah.
Uh-huh.
These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan.
So what happened is that Esau started to marry the Canaanite, which is the family of Ham. All right? So you have the seed of Shem marrying the seed, the lineage of Ham. Remember we said before that Ham were a dark people, right? That whole area. Shem was also a dark people, and I have the historian proof of that too. We'll get into that another time. So anyway, why is the Bible giving us these names? Because names are like little breadcrumbs. It acts as a marker, something for us to follow, so we can trace certain lineage all the way back to know who we are actually dealing with. Now, we're going to pick it up at verses 8 down to verses 12 in Genesis chapter 36 to identify the sons of... We're looking at the sons, you see, because it mentions Esau, and he has these wives, and now he has these children. And when you follow the children, you can actually see where the children will settle in this world. According to historians, who these children are in the world today. Who are the sons of Esau in this earth today, right? So there are two important names that pops up. We're going to focus on basically one tonight, okay? So read for me verses 8, Genesis chapter 36, verses 8 to verses 12.
Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir.
So now the Bible is letting us know that the transition He's no longer called just Esau there was a man who was named Amerigo Vespucci, and this is where we have the term America from, right? So these nations, these people call the territories after their names. So Esau, he lived in Mount Seir. His family name, or the groups that came out from him, his sons, were called Edomites. They dwelt in a place called Seir. Now, when you look and do the research behind the word Seir, it goes back to the word satyr, or devil, or a goat. Okay? So we will leave that alone for right now because that's another class. But we will go into those things later on as we study a little bit more about the Gentiles. So now, continue verses 10, right?
Yes.
Okay.
These are the names of Esau's sons. Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau. Reuel, the son of Bashemoth, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. Now
the name Zepho is where we're going to focus on. We're going to trace this man to a particular place that we all are familiar with. Okay? Read verses 12.
And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek.
Now that's another important name. Amalek is where we have the Amalekites. The Amalekites have, the Most High says we will have a war with these people forever. That's the seed of Esau. Okay? So now, continue.
These were the sons of Adar, Esau's wife.
So the Bible is letting us know, it's identifying the peoples that we have to deal with. Now, we're going to go to the book of Jubilees. Because in the book of Jubilees, also known as the little Genesis, okay, this is a record about, because remember Moses spent 40 days and 40 nights on a mountain receiving instructions from the Most High, right? And the information that Moses received is recorded in the book of, not all of it, but is recorded in the book of Jubilees, because Moses wrote these things down. It's recorded in the book of Jubilees, explaining a little bit more details. Yes, you want to say something real quick?
I think I would like to read verse 14
of
the same Genesis you're reading.
Okay.
And 15 and 16.
Genesis 36?
Right.
Okay.
So that way you can see where the Z4 thing come into.
All right, go ahead then. Genesis says again?
Genesis 36, and I'm going to read 14 to 16.
Okay. Go ahead.
And these were the sons of Aholibama, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife, and she bare to Esau Jeushi and Jalam and Korah. These were the dukes of the sons of Esau. The sons of Eliphaz, the firstborn son of Esau, Duk Teman, Duk Omar, Duk Zepho, Duk Kenaz, Duk Korah, Duk Gatam, and Duk Amalek. These are the dukes that came of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Ada. And the reason why I read that, because there are certain nations today which are considered to be dukes.
And duchess.
And duchesses.
And baron and baronesses. This is the same.
And so you can imagine where you've heard that name from before. Who are considered to be the dukes of Europe, the dukes.
Right.
So just keep that in mind.
All right, thanks for sharing that. So now, let's go a step further. Now we're going to go to the book of Jubilees. This is very important, brothers and sisters, and please listen, because it helps us to understand that the Most High declared the sons that came out from Abraham, not Israel, but the other sons that came from Abraham was considered to be Gentiles. Jubilees chapter 15, verses 29 to verses 32. Jubilees chapter 15, 29 and 32. That's probably on page number 67, I think it is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and read for me verses 29 and 30.
And 30.
Yeah, read those two.
For the command is ordained for a covenant, that they should observe it forever among all the children of Israel.
So Moses is receiving the instructions from the Most High. He's on Mount Sinai, and the Most High is letting him know what has to be done, okay? He's giving him some insight, some prophetical insight of the world, what's to come. Verse 30.
For Ishmael and his sons and his brothers and Esau, the Lord did not cause to approach him, and he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them. But he chose Israel to be his people.
See, so the Most High is explaining to Moses that Ishmael and his sons, Ishmael's children, and Ishmael's brothers, and even the seed of Esau, the Most High did not choose these people, but he chose specifically those to come close to him, Israel, to be his chosen people, okay? So that's found in the book of Jubilees. Now we're going to read verses 31 of chapter 15 and verses 32.
And he sanctified it and gathered it from among all the children of men. For there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his.
So last week we read the book of Isaiah and the book of Ezra, where it's said in the books that the other nations are nothing in the eyes of the Most High, but as spit. But Israel is his choice vine. We looked at that. We looked at all of that information. Now we're coming back and seeing, even in the book of Jubilees, it mentions that Ishmael and the Edomites, they're regarded as nothing in that sense. But, and you know, all the nations, the Most High made all those people, but Israel belongs to him. All right, read on.
For there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his. And over all hath he placed spirits in authority to lead them astray from him.
Now, isn't that something? Isn't that something? We try to understand, why is it that certain people are not getting this thing? Why certain people are involved in all kinds of evils on this earth? Because the Most High knew about these nations. He knows what trees, what fruit certain trees produce. That's just the nature of these trees. That's the reason why, if we don't follow his instructions to understand, when we have these books are to help us to open our understanding of why things are the way they are. Why are we in this condition? You go back to the Bible, Deuteronomy 28, Deuteronomy 29, 30, 31, 32, all of Leviticus 26. You go through all the books. It explains why we're in this condition, right? But also when you read the other parts of the Bible, it explains why the other nations are the way that they are. So he's explaining that all these other nations, they all belong to him, so he can do whatever he wants. And what does he do? He says he places certain spirits, he gives certain spirits power to deal with these nations and to bring these nations away from him. You see that? Read verses 32.
But for he alone is their ruler, and he will preserve them and require them at the hand of his angels and his spirits, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and bless them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs from henceforth forever.
So Moses is receiving this information from the Most High that, listen, because Moses was a very meek person. He lived among Egypt, the Egyptians. He have dealt with so many different nationalities and peoples as a captain and a prince in Egypt. So he has a certain level of compassion, okay? And it's easy for us to get distracted with compassion. Compassion can lead us down the wrong direction. But instruction guides us to let us know the wisdom of the Most High explains to us things that we don't see on the surface, right? The Most High exposes the mold that's in the bread. The Most High exposes the poison that's in the water, right? We don't see anything in the water. It looks fine. But the Most High brings the lenses so we can see the bacteria, the poisons, the sickness that's in the thing. All right? And he's doing the same thing with the nations. He's letting us know that this is my plan. I am the one who made all nations. I'm the one who set things up. And I'm explaining to you that you people, Israel, are close to me. These other nations are not close to me. Okay? And this is why certain things are. So he says, but over Israel he did not appoint any angel or spirit, for he alone is their ruler, and he will preserve them and require them at the hand of his angels and his spirits and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and bless them, and that they may be his and he may be theirs from henceforth and forever. From now until now, we're going to switch up a little bit, stay in the book of Jubilees. Let's go to chapter 16. And I'd like you to read for us Jubilees chapter 16, verses 16 to verses 19. Jubilees 16. And there are lots of other things we could read, but all we're doing tonight is just to give an overview of Gentiles, the meaning of Gentiles. So when we read the Bible, we can get a better understanding of what the Most High is saying. Okay? So, Jubilees 16, verses 16 to verses 19. Read 16 to 17 first, and then we'll pick it up after that.
And we returned in the 7th month, and found Sarah with child before us, and we blessed him, and we announced to him all the things which had been decreed concerning him, that he should not die till he should begat 6 sons more, and should see them before he died. But that in Isaac should his name and seed be called.
Read on.
And that all the seed of his sons should be Gentiles.
Say that again one more time.
And that all the seed of his sons should be Gentiles, and be reckoned with the Gentiles.
Recorded with the Gentiles. Read.
But from the sons of Isaac, one should become a holy seed, and should be not reckoned among the Gentiles. So
the one that will be the holy seed is Jacob. Remember, Rebekah had 2 nations in her womb, right? So the Most High is explaining that there are going to be more children, right? But among the children of Abraham, the seed of Isaac specifically, all the other seed that comes from Abraham will be considered to be Gentiles. But this one particular seed will be set apart. That's through Jacob, right? Let's go to verses 18 and verses 19.
For he should become the portion of the Most High, and all his seed had fallen into the possession of God, that it should be unto the Lord a people for his possession above all nations, and that it should become a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. See the word kingdom of priests, a royal priesthood that Peter talks about in 1 Peter, right? The same thing in the book of Exodus chapter 19, verse 6.
It's all throughout the Bible, Hosea, you name it. The Most High keeps recording over and over who the people that is called my people, who's to be the kingdom and priests, which is the holy nations, in the book of Revelations. Remember where it is?
No, we should be king and priest on the earth.
Yeah, book of Revelations. Yeah, Revelations chapter 5, verses 10. So we're not done with Jubilees. We're just taking a pause because I want to read.
And have made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall...
a certain people that the Most High redeemed out of the nations of the earth. That's because Israel was scattered among these nations, and they had to be brought back. Okay? Peter, let's go to 1 Peter real quick. Chapter 2, verses 9. 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 9. Read from verses 9 to 11.
1 Peter 2, 9 to 11. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood and holy nation,
A holy nation,
a peculiar people,
a special people,
that you should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light.
Now, this is on so many levels because when Israel was brought out, he says that he sent spirits to drive the other nations away. That's why they're in darkness. But his Torah to our feet, therefore it's a light for us to see. Okay? He has not done so with any other nations. The book of Psalms mentioned that, right? Okay, continue.
Which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy.
Now that confounds a lot of people because they think, well, the Gentiles, in other words, the non-Israelite people, were not a people. But that's not what it's talking about. We're going to come into that later on, okay?
Abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul.
Uh-huh.
Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles.
So these people were living among Gentiles, and Peter is saying, you are Israelites, you are dispersed among these nations, you must have your conversation honest among these nations, because you are a special people unto the Most High. That's all he's saying in a letter.
Yep.
Read.
That whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may, by your good works, which they shall behold, glorify God in the day of visitation.
So when the Most High visits you, okay? Now let's leave that. Let's go to James chapter 1, verses 1. And then we'll go back to Jubilees. James chapter 1, verses 1. So when you read the letters, it identifies, it connects to a certain people. And this is a perfect example of the disciples writing to a specific people, right? Read verses 1.
James, a servant of God and of the Lord Yeshua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greetings.
So he's saying hello to a specific people who were among these Gentiles. All right? Yeah. They were called the 12 tribes. They were not called 12 churches or, Baptist or Methodist or Episcopal. No. Tribes pertaining back to the subject in Jubilees. So let's go back to Jubilees. Chapter 16, which is also known as Little Genesis. Jubilees 16. All right, read that again for me, 18 and 19.
For he should become the portion of the Most High, and all his seed had fallen into the possession of God, that it should be unto the Lord a people for his possession above all nations.
Okay.
And that it should become a kingdom and priest and a holy nation.
Hallelujah. Verse 19.
And we went our way, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him, that they both rejoiced with exceeding great joy.
So they knew that their offspring was to become priests and kings upon this earth. Yep. They were given the history of the world. That's what happened here. All right? So let's move on now. Now let's look at how we're going to go to the book of Jasher. So now we have identified that the Most High classified Ishmael and the Edomites as being Gentiles, right, in the book of Jubilees. So when we come to the book of Jasher, chapter 62, verses 24 to verses 25. Remember, we read Genesis where it identifies the seed of Esau, one particular son that he had. His name was Zepho, or Zepho, however you want to pronounce it, right? Zepho. Now, this particular character that you find in Genesis, he became the first king of Rome. All right? Let us take a look of how the seed of Esau ended up in Europe. So the book of Jasher, which is mentioned in the book of Joshua and another place in the Bible. Samuel. So now let's go there. Book of Jasher.
2 Samuel and 2 Timothy.
Book of Jasher. 2 Samuel, yeah. And Timothy. So now let's go into Jasher 62. chapter 62, verses 24 to verses 25. All right. Whenever you get it, go ahead and read.
And the children of Shittim saw the valor of Zepho, and the children of Shittim resolved, and they made Zepho king over them. And he became king over them, and whilst he reigned, they went to subdue the children of Tubal and all the surrounding islands.
Now remember, Tubal was identified as the seed of the Gentiles, Europeans, right?
Yes.
So Zepho, and then when you read the book of Jasher, it explains so many things that happened during the time of Joseph's reign in Egypt, and how there was war in what we call today Africa, and Zepho left that area, and he went north to Europe. And when he got there, because remember, Japheth was already, the seed of Japheth was there, as calling themselves Gentiles. But the seed of Esau, through Zepho, because he was a mighty man, right, a general, he traveled from the Middle East area and went to Europe. And because of his valor, because he was a mighty general, they admired him for his, skill. They made him the king, their king, right? And then he waged war against the surrounding nations, became a power. Let's read verses 25 now.
And their king Zepho went at their head, and they made war with Tubal and the islands, and they subdued them. And when they returned from the battle, they renewed his government for him, and they built for him a very large palace for his royal habitation and seat, and they made a large throne for him. And Zepho reigned over the whole land of Shittim and over the land of Italia 50 years.
Italia is where we have the term Italian or Roman.
Italy.
All right? So this man ruled over a certain area for 50 years because the people loved him, made him their king. And this is where we have, brothers and sisters, the introduction of the Roman Empire. Right during the time of Joseph. All of these things occurred, brothers and sisters, okay? Now, let's go. We're going to stay in Jasher, but we're going to go to chapter 90, and we're going to read from 27 to 30, but just read 27 and 28 for right now, okay? This is how Edom, the seed of Esau, became the Roman Empire. Brothers and sisters, chapter 90, verses 27 to verses 30, but we'll stop at 28 for now. So, brothers and sisters, this is how, with all these things changing, historically speaking, we don't realize that we are still under the power of Esau, the Edomite Empire. When the Bible says that this world, Jerusalem will be trodden down under the feet of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles is over. The book of Ezra says that Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the world to come. So, and the Romans were the ones who surrounded Jerusalem. The Romans came out from Esau through Zepho by mixing with these other nations. Remember, the Edomites mixed with the Hamites, the Canaanites. Now the Edomites mix in with the Japhites, okay, the Japhetic people. And this is why the Most High had pronounced ahead of time, before Zepho was even born, the Most High already pronounced, prophetically speaking, that Edom, or that the Gentiles, the seed of Abraham, that is not from Jacob, will become Gentiles. And this is how it came to pass. So it was prophesied, Moses received that instruction, and here we go. Boom. All these things. Sarah received this information. Abraham received information. They all knew what was to come in the future. Okay. So now, Joshua chapter 90, verses 27, and read 28 for me, please.
Verse 27. And the children of Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua. And the Lord gave them rest from all around them, and they dwelt securely in their cities. And it came to pass in those days that Abianus, king of Shittim, died.
Abianus,
In the 38th year of his reign, that is the 7th year of his reign over Edom. And they buried him in his place which he had built for himself. And Latinus reigned in his stead 50 years.
Now, what this is talking about is two different things. When Esau had sons, Zepho, one of his offspring, roamed around and came into Italy and became the first Roman king. That's another story. But the other sons of Esau remained in the land of Edom, okay, where Israel is today, the south of Israel, in that area close to Arabia, between Israel and Arabia, that area in the south. So many of Esau's sons remained there. So what happened is you have the sons of Esau, or from Zepho, that's living in Italy, coming over and conquering, subduing, or in other words, he's bringing the whole Edomite empire under one roof. That's what he's doing. So you got Esau, the sons of Esau competing who's going to be the head, basically. Okay? So you got Zepho going over to Rome, becoming the head. Then they return under a different kingship under Abianus, okay? And then Latinus coming into Edom, south of Israel, and controlling, subduing the rest of Esau's people or children and bringing them under one umbrella. Now, let me read something real quick from the Encyclopedia Britannica. This is from the Encyclopedia Britannica about Latinus. Latinus, in Roman legend, king of the aborigines of Latimum, and eponymous hero of the Latin race. So what this is saying basically is that Latinus is the original peoples who formed the Latin or Roman race. Okay? Now, let's go into verses 29 and verses 30. This is important. Verses 29 and verses 30. And you're going to see some certain names that's going to pop up here. That's important, okay? This is how the Edomites spread even further into Europe.
Right.
Read on. Verses 29 and 30.
And during his reign, he brought forth an army, and he went and fought against the inhabitants of Britannia and Carnania, the children of Elisha, son of Javan, and he prevailed over them and made them tributaries.
So here you go now. Britannia is a Latinized word for Great Britain.
Yes.
Britain, England, those places. So not only did were they able to subdue them, they made them servants. They had to pay taxes. That's why the Roman Empire grew so large and are making the whole world to pay taxes. And to this very day, whenever we pay taxes, it goes straight to Rome. And a lot of people don't know that. It goes through England first, goes through the filtering process, and from there, it goes to the Vatican. Verses 30, read.
He then heard that Edom had revolted from under the hand of Shittim, and Latinius went to them and smote them and subdued them, and placed them under the hand of the children of Shittim. And Edom became one kingdom with the children of Shittim all the days.
So the seed of Esau one of them wanted to do their own thing. You know, we're going to stay true in our area. And the other one for Esau, which is Zepho, wanted to do something different. He wanted to conquer because he was, because they're mighty hunters. They're cunning hunters, right? So they returned back home and do what? Conquered the rest and made them one empire. Okay, all the days. So this is how you have the seed of Esau being spread spread throughout Europe. Dukes and duchesses and barons and earls and all those different things, right? Okay, now, we just looked at how the Roman Empire became the Roman Empire. They are still Gentiles because the Most High said there will be Gentiles prophetically. Now let's look at Israel, how Israel slipped into and were named Gentiles. They're not Gentiles because the Most High made them Gentiles in that sense, like the other nations put a curse on them, but by label. Okay? So now, third reference for Gentiles refers to the 10 tribes of Israel, from the time of the Assyrian captivity even to this present day. Okay? Let's get that understanding. We're not going to get deep because there's a lot of stuff to go into. So let's look at just the basics of how Israel became, or what the prophet said about Israel becoming, or the 10 tribes of Israel, the northern kingdom, becoming classified as Gentiles. Hosea chapter 7 verses 8. The 10 tribes of Israel was also labeled as Gentiles. And we find the prophetical precept in Hosea chapter 7 and verses 8. You got it?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and read.
Ephraim, he have mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
Now the term Ephraim in the scriptures, it always denotes the head who is in charge of the 10 tribes. Judah is in charge of the 2 tribes, okay, including the Levites in the south. But Ephraim was given that title because Jacob blessed the sons. The youngest son of Joseph was blessed with a double blessing. Everything that Joseph should have gotten, twice of that was given to Ephraim. And the Most High was doing that because he was setting everything up, that the house of Jacob was going to be 2 tents. Okay, 2 tents. And those 2 is going to come together as 1 tent. That's why it talks about in Ezekiel, the 2 sticks that's in the hand, right? Coming together as 1. The 2 olive trees. All of these things are Hebraic idioms pointing back to the split that occurred between the 2 houses of Israel. When Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, reigned, the Most High split in the days of Rehoboam the kingdom of Israel from being 12 tribes into 2 houses. 1 in the north under 10, and 2 in the south under, 1 in the south under 2. Okay? So now let's see what Hosea, before we go to Hosea chapter 8 verses 8, get that for me. Hosea 7 and 8 says, Ephraim have mixed himself among the people. What this is referring to, the mixing of Ephraim among the nations. Okay? Among those nations. When you mix yourself among something, like you mix in flour and salt and things like that together, like a bread, like you're going to make a pancake or bread or whatever it is, that's what happened to Ephraim. They got so mixed that you couldn't distinguish one from the other, but the Most High can tell the difference. But they have been mixed among these people, all right? So let's go to Hosea chapter 8, verses 8. And let's see what the prophet says about Israel. So when we see the term Ephraim and we see the term Israel, we have to read the scriptures carefully because it doesn't always mean all 12 tribes. Sometimes when it says Israel, in context, it's dealing with just 10 of the tribes. Okay? Hosea 8 and verses 8.
Israel is swallowed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now shall they be among the Gentiles, as a vessel wherein is no pleasure.
So, a vessel wherein is no pleasure. When something is swallowed, the prophets has given us something to ponder on, right? He's given us how should I say it? An illusion of how Israel became Gentiles. When you eat something, okay, and it's swallowed into your system, if you eat different things, if you eat some chicken, you eat some bread, The bread comes from the wheat. The chicken came from, chicken. An animal, a plant. An animal, a plant. But when you swallow those things and they go into your bowels, they're mixed. Your stomach only sees the nutrients. It doesn't say, okay, we have a stomach that's going to separate chicken from wheat. It doesn't see that, okay? It's mixed. Now, how does it become a vessel wherein there's no pleasure? Because as it passes through the bowels, it becomes like dung, nothing. Okay? The waste. So Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. So the Bible is saying what will happen to Israel. Now, we're going to go to the book of Matthew, chapter 4, verses 14 to verses 16. Now, loved ones, what we're doing, brothers and sisters, is just simply giving an overview. Every one of these things that we're looking at is a subject by itself. And I'm doing the basic, the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so that many of our people can have an understanding of the Gentiles, okay? The references of the Gentiles. So when we go through on a deeper level, you're going to say, oh, okay, I got it. And that's what we want to do. So in the book of Matthew chapter 4, 14 to 16, there's something interesting here that's going to build as we go into the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament. So Matthew 4 and 14, go ahead and read.
That it might be fulfilled which were spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people which sat in darkness saw great light, and to them which sat in the region and shadow of death, light is sprung up.
So those people who sat in a region and shadow of death, light has sprung up, and that light is dealing with the Messiah. Now it mentions Zebulun or Naphtali. These are the two sons of Jacob, okay? By the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. Galilee was another area that the 10 tribes of Israel had occupied, part of their territories, right? So the Bible is letting us know that that area was at that particular time. Now, because the 10 tribes became spoiled, swallowed up, because the Assyrians came in, right, took them captive, and started to mix other people in that area, and they became mixed into these other nations. They become swallowed up. They were classified, that whole area was classified as Galilee of the Gentiles, the north area, okay? So those people sat in darkness because the Torah was removed from them. The Most High turned his face away from them because of the sins of Jeroboam, because of the sins that they were doing at that time when the kingdom was split into two, okay? Now, we're going to go to the book of John, chapter 7. Something very interesting that was said here. And many a times we overlook this, but when you look at this thing carefully with the historical understanding, the background of Israel, you will understand that Israel, the northern 10 tribes of Israel, were slanderously called Gentiles by the southern kingdom of Judah. The northern kingdom was in exile a long time. The southern kingdom went into Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar, Cyrus, you name it, those Darius with Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and Esther, and things like that, okay? But they weren't there for too long. They were there for 70 years. Then the Most High allowed them to return back to the land of Israel. Just the southern kingdom, or the 2 tribes of Israel, along with some of the Levites. Now, where was the 10 tribes? They never returned back, okay? So you have the 2 tribes that were in Babylon returning with Ezra and Nehemiah into Jerusalem, rebuilding, right? So when they rebuild from that particular time of the Persian Empire all the way to the Roman Empire, that's where the Most High, the Messiah came, Yeshua came, and this is where he says, I came to my own, and my own received me not. It was not referring to the 10 tribes. It wasn't referring to the 10 tribes. Only those that were there at that time. So we have proof that those Jews from the southern kingdom, the 2 tribes that returned, right, their children, called the Jews, okay, they knew that the 10 tribes were in exile among the Gentiles. This is where we get the proof. John chapter 7, 34 and verses 35. This is Yeshua speaking now. Read.
Should go 33.
You want to read from 33? Go ahead.
Okay. Then said Yeshua unto them, Yet a little while am I with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me, and shall not find me. And where I am, hither you cannot come. Then said the Jews among themselves.
Now hold on. This is a southern kingdom saying to themselves, right? Because he's having a conversation with them. Read.
Whither will he go?
Where's he going?
That we shall not find him.
Uh-huh.
Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles?
So they know that there were dispersed people that were spread out,
scattered,
among the Gentiles. Read.
And teach the Gentiles?
So they called the dispersed Gentiles. Is he going to go among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? Who is he going to teach? The dispersed.
Yes, the dispersed.
The dispersed is also known as diaspora, or scattered. This is where the book of James, chapter 1 says, to the 12 tribes that were scattered. You look that up in the Greek. The word scattered means diaspora, or scattered or dispersed. So to the 12 tribes that were scattered among these nations, I'm saying hello. I'm sending a letter to you people. Because Yeshua was sent by the Father to go reach the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Bring you home.
At that particular time, the Jews or the southern kingdom was not considered to be lost. They had the Torah. They still had the priesthood. They still had instructions. Okay? But the other tribes need to be reached. So he commissioned his disciples, taught them what they need to know, how to survive, what to teach, and send them out. Okay? Yeshua didn't go other places. He was in Judah, among the Jews. Okay? So they asked him a very appropriate question because they had the history. They knew. They opened the book. They know these things. Is he going to go among those knuckleheads that broke away from us because they disobeyed, even though we disobeyed, but they were worse? Is he going to go among the Gentiles and teach those dispersed? That was the question. And this is how we are able to get a better understanding of who these Gentiles are. Okay? We'll get a little bit more information on that. Now, let us go to Romans chapter 9, verses 23 to 26. Romans chapter 9, verses 23 to 26. So when we come to the writings of Paul, the letters of Paul, without the proper understanding, we would think that Paul was writing to everybody and their mama and papa. No. He was writing to specific people based on the knowledge that he had of the prophets. Okay? This is what it says in Romans chapter 9, verses 23, 26. Go ahead and read.
23.
Uh-huh.
And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. Even us, whom he have called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. Okay, so hold on a minute.
So there are vessels of mercy, which he had afore, or in time past, prepared unto glory. We already covered that. In the time past, when the nations was divided, he already set a plan in motion called Israel.
And right? Jubilee's already explained that to
you. The books that we looked at covered that. We can go into that into serious detail if you want, but we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Not tonight. But other times we will cover that.
Okay.
Okay? Now he says, even us whom he had called, not of the Jews only, us meaning the southern kingdom, but also the Gentiles. This is where he's pulling his information from. Read.
As he saith also in OC.
So, not of the Jews only, but also the Gentiles, as it is written, as the Most High said in OC. Now, what is OC?
Hosea.
Open my eyes and see?
No.
I'm seeing?
No, Hosea.
What is OC?
Hosea.
The book of Hosea.
Yes.
We will go to that too, okay? Yeah. So he's saying, if you want to know who he called, vessels of mercy that he prepared from the before time, not other Jews only, but the Gentiles, if you want to have that understanding, you got to go to the book of Hosea. He's given us the reference, the footnote that we should look to and say, well, where is this guy getting this information? He's writing his letters. Who's he talking about? He's saying right there in front of us, go to Hosea.
Considering the fact that they did not have a New Testament.
There were no New Testament. So read on. Read that again. 25.
Okay. As he saith also in OC.
Uh-huh.
I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved.
Two references. My people who are not my people, and beloved, which... So, my people and beloved. Hosea identifies this, brothers and sisters. Hosea chapter 1, Hosea chapter 2, throughout the book. Okay? Read 26.
And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people.
What place is that?
There shall they be called the children of the living God.
The place, let's go back to Hosea.
The place that it was said you are not a people is in the book of Hosea.
So these people will be called the children of the living God. Let's go to Hosea real quick. Hosea chapter 1.
Yes.
And let's read from verses 6. Yeah. From 6 down to verses 11. Okay.
Hosea chapter 1 and verse 6. And she conceived again and bare a daughter. And God said unto him, call her name Lo Ruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel.
Wait a minute. Romans chapter 9 says vessels of mercy. And Hosea is saying about not having mercy, right?
Yep.
And he mentions with that Israel.
Yep, the house.
Read on.
But I will utterly take them away.
He will take them away. In other words, they will be scattered, dispersed among the nations, diaspora. Yep. Read.
But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah.
But he'll give a break to Judah. At that time, Judah was not taken in captivity by Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, until later on. Okay, read.
And will save them by the Lord their God. I will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen.
Read on.
Now when she had weaned Lo Ruhamah, she conceived and bare a son. Then said God, call his name Lo Ami, for ye are not my people, and I will not be your God.
Then that's dealing with Judah. So no mercy is for Israel, the 10 tribes.
Yes.
And not my people is Judah.
Yep.
You see that?
Yep.
Okay? Yep. Read on.
Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered.
Didn't the book of Revelation speak about a people like the sand of the sea?
Yes.
Which could not be numbered?
Yes.
Read on.
And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, you are the sons of the living God.
Romans chapter 9, verses 25 and 26. Read that again. So it was talking about the two houses of Israel, Judah and Israel. The two houses, or Ephraim and Judah. All right? We'll get into that subject a little more in detail. But for now, I just want to share that. Let's go back to Romans 9 and 25 and 26.
As he said also in Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which were not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, you are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God.
There you go. The old people will say, bingo, right? Let's go to our fourth rendering. Let's leave that alone. That's another subject. Now we're going to deal with Judah. How Judah became considered among Jews, how some of them became Gentiles, or the label of Gentiles. Okay? So you have a people that are bloodline from the beginning, from Japheth, that are Gentiles. Blood. That's it. Gentiles. Then you have from the seed of Abraham through Ishmael and Esau that were labeled Gentiles because they mixed themselves and became part of that system. The Most High allowed the spirits to go on them, but kept certain spirits away from Israel. Okay? Because that's his precious treasure. But the label, because to be called a Gentile, and we'll see, we'll look at some things here that was going to help you to understand why the term Gentile is a slander. It's like calling someone a nasty word, okay? We'll come to that. So now, Judahites, Yehudim, from the Grecian Empire. We're going to go to the book of Maccabees in the Apocrypha. We are going to go to the Apocrypha, the books that were taken out of the Bible for a certain reason. See, the people who are in control, the same people that runs the world, they don't want us to have the truth. So they broke our stuff up and tell us, don't look at this, don't look at that, and scatter things all over the place to keep us confused. But the Most High is saying, no, these things are our holy stuff. Read it here, over here a little bit, and you put everything together. And this is where you get the full understanding. All right? Yes.
Well, the thing is that you have to really be wise in those times. Why would somebody want to keep information away from you? It's because they are trying to hide a secret. They're
trying to hide a secret.
And they don't want you to know. That's why they keep some of the books away from you.
Exactly.
Because had you had those books, you would have realized the truth a long time ago.
Exactly. So now, 1 Maccabees, chapter 1. We're going to read verses 11 to 15. There's so much information. So what we have done is to truncate it, to just break it down to, a small portion. 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verses 11 to 15. Read verses 11 and verses 12, please.
I just want to start from 10. Give it a little history.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Maisha wants to start at verses 10.
Yeah. Because of the history, so you can see where all that is coming from.
All right.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome. Mm-hmm. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, that's where this whole thing coming from.
So we have the transition from the Greek Empire into the Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. But right now we're dealing with the Greek Empire.
Right.
Okay. When because the 10 tribes was already out of the land, right? They didn't return back. Jonah went to preach to them. Okay. Now, those that were in the south hated those that were in the north. Mm-hmm. Jonah did not want to go and preach to his brothers that were scattered among the Assyrians. They hated them. There was a war between the two. Okay. So now the Most High caused Jonah to go there. And later on, Nineveh was destroyed, and the rest of the children of Israel got dispersed even further. But Judah in the south remained, and the Grecian Empire took control over Israel for a time and started to do some wicked things. And then from the Grecian Empire, it transitioned from there into the Roman Empire. And this is how we have the residue of the Gentiles. And the war between Esau and Jacob continued. Okay? So now let's read 1 Maccabees chapter 11. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and read.
1:11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well.
So what this is talking about is among the leaders of the Jews in the south, they made deals with the Greeks. They wanted to join with the Greeks. You see, the Most High didn't want this. This was an evil thing. Let's go to verses 13 down to 15.
Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen.
So they was so persistent in joining with the heathen, they went to the king, to the authority, and got permission so that they can do the practices, get the practices, be certified Gentile, certified heathen, learn what they learn, get the authority from them, being authorized by them. Okay, verses 14.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen.
You know what that's called today? A gym.
Gymnasium.
And you know what the word gym goes back to? It means to be naked. That's why on those Greek images, there are always naked men with their little dinglings hanging, and naked women with the breastises out. And you have little boys and, all this pedophile type of a culture. Because these people were perverts. And when they come together in the gym, guess what they used to do?
Hit each other on the butt.
Yeah, hit each other in the butt, rub down with oils and wrestle each other. And, men would... It was a whole lot of sodomite lifestyle, culture. And that's what our people started to do. They joined with these heathen. All right, read on.
And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
These are Jews who decided not to be circumcised anymore. As a matter of fact, there were some references in Josephus where they actually went through some surgery to get certain things put a certain place that they can look like the Greeks, right? Because how can you tell a man that is not circumcised unless he's naked, running around in a gym naked? And that's exactly what they did. So they wanted to be have the same culture. Not all of Judah, but certain men among Judah. All right? And then they raise their children. They're still Israelites. They're still Jews. But they're Jews with a Gentile mindset. All right? Read on. Was that it?
15? Yes.
Was that it for 15?
Yes.
Okay, so now let's jump down to verses 41. Read from 41 to 44, and then we'll continue from there, okay?
Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
So the king sent a decree saying, hey, I want everyone to be a one world government. That's nothing new. It's happening today. Everyone should leave your own laws. So whatever practices that you have, now you got to be an American citizen. You got to leave what you have and become an American, or become a Greek, or become a Roman. Okay? So everyone agreed. Verses 43.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
And when it says Israelites, it's speaking about those that were in the land, which are the Jews, not the 10 tribes, okay? In context. So they went back to the Bible, and they started to have talks and discussions to figure out how can we have both the cake and eat it too. We want to continue in this walk, but we want to be like the Greeks. So what do? Let's have a compromise. Right? Go ahead and read.
And sacrifice unto idols and profane the Shabbats.
See that? Verse 44.
For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Verses 45.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Shabbats and festival days. And pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. Set up altars and groves and chapels
And what?
of idols.
What? Say that again.
Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols.
Do we have chapels today?
Yep.
And where's the origin of chapels?
From the heathen.
From the heathen. Read on.
And sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
You see, that's why you have the Gentiles with the Easter ham.
Yep.
The honey ham for Easter, and the honey ham, they have a pig with an apple stuffed in the mouth for Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. That's the practice of the heathen. Mm-hmm. Instead of using a lamb, the Most High said, they use swine flesh, unclean beasts. So they did a mixture. That's why you find a lot of the practices today is a mixture of ancient Israel practices with Gentile culture. Mm-hmm. That mixture is what you have today is called Christianity.
Yep.
All right, read on.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation.
So this is where you find the churches today saying you don't have to be circumcised. This is where they get that from. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. We don't have to be circumcised. So explain to me why Paul took a young man and have him circumcised. Explain that to me. Is that hypocrisy if they use Paul to say, well, Paul said, and Paul said, and Paul said? You don't know what Paul is talking about because you are a first grader in a college trying to figure out your way around the school. You need to go back to first grade and learn from the first grade before you come into the school of Paul. Paul is a highly educated man who's pulling stuff from places that you don't even understand. And then you're looking at this because pastor said this and pastor said that. But the pastors themselves know these things, and so what? They keep milking the people of their monies, not teaching them the truth. That these are pagan practices that were brought in. Circumcision is a covenant relationship between the Most High and Israel.
Amen.
An everlasting sign. Mm-hmm. See? Yes, you want to say something?
No, I was saying, well, that's the thing that they would tell them in the churches, that they're Christians, they should not be circumcised, and they can pray over all manner of beasts and eat it.
That's right.
And make it clean.
And any day.
And you can worship any day.
The day set up. You can do Christmas. That's fine. You can create songs called carols and sing that. Oh, Christmas tree, oh, Christmas tree. You don't even realize that song is a song that worships a tree. You know? And all these different things.
Right.
I'll cling to the old rugged cross. The Bible never says to cling to any cross because that's cursed. Right? And I will lay that down for what? How does it go? A crown.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone has a cross, kissing that cross. And they say, well, I'm not Catholic, so why are you singing songs that are made from the Catholic Church? Huh? You see, so all of these things are brainwashing techniques that were set up by the same people the Lord says He caused spirits to cause them to wander away
from Him.
And that's the reason why our people are wandering all over the place.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the truth and the understanding of this word.
Right. Sheep without a shepherd because they don't want to come back to the shepherd of Israel.
Let's continue. Where did you stop?
And verse 49, I'm going to 49 now.
49, okay.
To the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said that he should die.
That person should die. Let's continue. We're going to go to 2 Maccabees now. And chapter 6. So we're going to read from verses 1 to verses 6. So they actually enforce their laws. So you got people who want to do it free of, from their heart. I want to be a Greek. No problem. Go ahead and be a Greek. But now you have caused these laws to be implemented to force the rest of those people that don't want to be a Greek to become like the Greeks. That I got to have my honey ham. I got to worship on December 25th. I got to do all these things that the pagans are doing. Now you want to put me to death because I don't want to practice these things. And that's what happened to our people. That's why there was a war. Even among the southern kingdom, there was those who hated, like the Pharisees. The Pharisees were freedom fighters. They started off as freedom fighters for the word. They fought against the Greeks. They killed them. Right? And they protected the Torah. That's why when anyone showed up and says, hey, I'm going to do this that looks a little different, they were on them, ready to put an end to them. But they were still wrong because they they applied too much pressure on the people and did not give them room. They were supposed to be lights of the people. That's why in the book of Acts it says there were Pharisees which believed and accepted. They never changed from being Pharisees, but they believed and they continued to serve the Most High, just like Paul.
A lot of the Jews had believed him.
Yes, they did. All right, so 2 Maccabees chapter 6, we're going to read verses 1 and 2, and then we'll continue on.
Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God.
See, so they sent an old man because we have respect for the gray hairs, the gray beard. Okay, read on.
And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympius, and that in Garizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwell in the place.
So now they want to call the name of our temple after a pagan god.
Yes, that's why they call Paul Mars and Jupiter when Paul was traveling. Yeah.
Verses 3 to verses 5.
The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riots and revelings by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful.
You know what that's called today? It's called Lent. You know what Lent connects to? Mardi Gras. You know what Mardi Gras is also called? Carnival. You know what Carnival is called? Bacchanal. So
the god Bacchus.
It goes all the way back. Fat Tuesday.
Yeah.
Fat Tuesday goes back to Lent. Lent is a Catholic holiday. Valentine's Day. All these things are revelry. Do you know the origin of Christmas? Well, believe you me, we're going to go into that. We're going to go into Halloween. We're going to go into Christmas. We're going to go into all those practices of the Gentiles to teach our people the difference between the clean and the unclean. So we can get out of that mess and get ourselves right and clean up before the Most High.
Right. You don't mix the holy with the profane.
That's right. Read on.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Shabbat days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And in the day of the king's birth every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept,
that's Bacchus goes back to Christmas. Read.
The Jews were compelled to go in processions to Bacchus carrying ivy.
Processions is those you know when those Catholic priests walks with the crosses?
Yeah.
Like what do you call it? A parade.
Yeah. And
that's what it's called, a parade.
They have a little thing with incense burning and stuff like that.
That's a procession. And they have the Son or Mary lifted up. Yeah. That's a procession. Read on.
Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestions of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
So those of our people who resisted, they forced us into this lifestyle. Read.
And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
You got to be you have to be a citizen in all form and fashion. All right?
Then might a man have seen the present misery.
So from that time on, it was nothing but misery. All right, so that's basically the 4 definitions. So when we come to the New Testament, we have to read in context the language that is being used, okay, by the apostles and things like that, who they're referring to. We will have time to cover that. Believe you me. I know. Sometimes you see certain things here and you get distracted. You want to answer now. I don't teach like that. That's where you came from. That's Christianity. I don't teach like that. If you want to learn, you're going to take just the same way like in school. When you go to school, the teacher doesn't give you algebra and everything right away. Teacher, what is that over there? That's algebra. How do you do that? No. They got to bring you from point A to bring you to point Z.
You have to learn how to add, how to subtract, how to minus, how to divide.
Exactly. And that's the way I teach. If you want to learn anything, be patient. Continue to come and you're going to learn. But if you don't, and you want fast food, go back to church. That's the best place you can go to get fast food, be fat, and die. But if you want to be trim,
And
healthy, vibrant, you're going to come here and you're going to learn the word. And we will teach it in context. Now, Gentiles, scholars' definition. We're going to look at what some of the scholars say. The King James Bible refers to Gentiles as a species of a falcon or a hawk, a bird of prey.
Yeah.
When Jerusalem is, wherever the eagles are gathered, that's where the carcass will be.
Yeah, wherever the carcass is, there will be eagles gathered
There,
together.
thank you. I said a little backward.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it also has a second definition, which are called nations or race, right? And it applies to the pagans. In the scriptures, a pagan, a worshiper of false gods, is considered a Gentile. Any person not a Jew or a Christian, a heathen. Now, it says the Hebrews included the term goyim or nations. So later on, the Hebrews, our people, had included that term, right, or nations. All the tribes of men who had not received the true faith and were not circumcised. So there was a evolution of the term, okay? The Christians translated goyim by the Latin gentes and imitated the Jews. The Christians had imitated the Jews in giving the name Gentiles to all nations who were not Jews or Christians. In civil affairs, the denomination was given to all nations who were not Romans. So if you're not a Roman citizen, you were considered to be a Gentile. You see how it worked? All right. Now, according to the McClintock and Strong Biblical Encyclopedia, there's another term that you read in the Bible where it says Greek. It refers to, or Grecian is referring to a Hellenist. Okay? I'm just going to read a couple of things here. The name, according to its derivation, whether the original verb be taken according to the common analogy of similar forms, in the general sense of adopting the spirit and character of Greeks. Let me read it again. The word Hellenist or Grecian, or Greek in that sense, it goes back to adopting the spirit and the character of Greeks, or in a more limited sense of using the Greek language. So if your mindset is like a Greek, you're considered to be a Hellenist, even though you're not bloodline a Greek, okay? Or if you speak the language, you're considered a Grecian, okay? Let me jump down a little bit here. It says, but also those Jews who by settling in foreign countries had adopted the prevalent form of the current Greek civilization. So those Jews, the southern kingdom, who live in foreign countries, they were considered to be Hellenists or Greeks. So when the apostles were saying, hey, no Greek, no Jew, let me deal with, the Grecians. Let me bring this word to the Greeks. They were talking about those Hellenized or Jews. Greek mentality Israelites that lived in those countries. Yes. Okay? Now, let's get into something very interesting. And please, if you don't have a stomach for it, then you don't have a stomach for it. But we're going to look at the Hebraic term Gentiles as being dogs. Okay? It's a Hebraic idiom. When we find the word Gentiles used among Israel, the word dogs was referring to a non-Israelite or Gentile. Okay? We're going to go to Psalms 22, verses 15 to 23. We're going to read this because it'll help us to see that there was a prophecy about the Messiah. Okay? And in that prophecy about the Messiah, certain words, certain key words were mentioned. And those words identify the times when the Messiah was there. It really identifies a certain peoples. Get me Psalms 22, verse 15 to 23. And let's look at the Hebraic idioms or figure of speeches, all right, that were used. Psalms 22, verse 15 to verses 23.
My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaveth to my jaws. And thou hast brought me into the dust of death.
Now this is a prophetic speech by the Messiah, right? Read verse 16.
For dogs have compassed me.
Mm-hmm.
The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet.
So whose hands was pierced and whose feet was pierced?
Yeshua.
The Messiah, right?
Yes.
Who pierced him? Was it the Jews or was it the
Romans?
The Romans were the ones who actually stabbed him, right?
Yes.
And pierced his hands and his feet, right?
Yes.
So verse 16 says, for dogs have compassed me. Who was around him piercing him?
There was the Romans.
The Romans.
Yes.
So the Bible is telling us that these Romans
are considered to be dogs.
Are the ones that are considered dogs. See? Read on.
Verse 16.
Verse 17 and 18.
I may tell all my bones, they look and stare upon me.
Mm-hmm.
They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture.
Was it the Jews? Was it Israel parting his garments or was it the Romans?
No, it was the Roman soldiers.
So the Bible was prophesying what the Romans was going to do to our Messiah.
Yes.
Right here. And
Yes.
they called those Romans dogs.
Yes.
Let's continue. Let's read verses 19 to verses 23.
But be not thou far from me, O Lord, O my strength, haste thee to help me.
Remember when he cried out, right? Mm-hmm. My Lord, my God, why have you forsaken? Deliver me, right?
Yeah. Deliver my soul from the sword, my darling from the power of the dog.
Deliver my soul from the sword, because remember they stabbed him, right? Mm-hmm. My darling from the power of the dog. Who had power at that time?
The Romans.
The Romans. Read on.
Save me from the lion's mouth,
Mm-hmm.
for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
The one beast power. One horn beast.
Right. Read on.
I will declare thy name among my brethren. In the midst of the congregation will I praise thee.
Verse 23.
He that fear the Lord, praise him. All he, the seed of Jacob.
Who?
The seed of Jacob.
Uh-huh.
Glorify him and fear him. All he, the seed of Israel.
So he's declaring his name among his brethren, not the whole world. Mm-hmm. If this is talking about the Messiah dying, it's speaking about who he was dying for, who the praise will be going to.
The seed of Yaakov.
The seed of Israel.
Yes.
And people miss that. Mm-hmm. Right? Let's move on. Now we're going to go to Mark chapter 7, verse 25 to 28. Okay? Mm-hmm. We're looking at the idioms, the expressions that is used by Israelites to denote the other nations as being dogs. Mark chapter 7, verse 25 to 28. We're almost done. We have a few more slides we're going to go through. I'm going to read some news pieces in there, and we're going to close it up. But we want to show the Gentiles in context. Mark 7, 25 to 28. Go ahead and read.
For a certain woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit heard of him and came and fell at his feet.
What kind of woman was this?
The woman was a Greek, a Syro-Phoenician by nation.
So the Bible is letting us know she was not a Greek who was an Israelite
right.
that conformed to the ways of the Greeks.
Right.
It was trying to tell us something, okay?
Right.
Because if it was a Hebrew who were in Greek culture, the Messiah would not have answered this way. Read.
Right. He says, and she besought him that he should cast forth the devil out of her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeshua said unto her, let the children first be filled, for it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it unto the dogs.
So he's calling this woman a dog.
Yep.
Now the interesting thing about this, with the demons and all that stuff, this comes from mixing with the other nations. Remember, Book of Jubilees says that when he sent certain spirits to deal with the other nations.
Yes.
And these are demons that were dealing with the other nations.
Yes.
So when Saul became mixed up with the Edomites, that's when the evil spirit came into him and possessed him.
Yes.
We don't find other places in the Bible where it speaks about demon possession now. But our people being mixed among these Gentiles, dealing with the Gentiles, whatever spirit that they have, came upon our people. And that's why Yeshua had to cast those demons out and send those demons back to where they come from. That's the reason why the demons went to the pigs.
Yep.
Because the pigs connect back to the Gentiles.
Yep.
Because that's what they deal with.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's continue now.
That's why Herod was eaten by worms, because they eat all these unclean things. And
Exactly.
Herod was an Edomite, and they eat all these unclean things, so they already have worms brewing inside of them. So the worms came up and eat him up.
Let's continue. Where did you stop?
On verse 27.
27, read.
And she answered and said unto him, Yes, Lord. Yet the dogs under the table eat of the children's crumbs.
See that? Now let's leave that. Let's look at another idiom. Let's go to Philippians chapter 3, verses 1 to 3. The book or the letter by Rav Shaul, the Apostle Paul, to those brethren living in Philippi. Chapter 3, verses 1 to verses 3.
Finally, my blood is not grievous, but for you it is safe.
Read on.
Beware of dogs.
Why would Paul say to beware of dogs? Why would it have to be concerned? What dogs is he referring to?
He wasn't referring to an
sense?
animal.
I'm gonna write the good news of salvation, and I'm gonna tell him to be careful with dogs.
Yep.
What about ants? What about crows? Huh? What about sharks? It says beware of dogs. Read on.
Beware of evil workers.
Uh-huh.
Beware of the concision. For we are the circumcision which worship God in the spirit and rejoice in Christ Yahushua and have no confidence in the flesh.
He's covering the Gentiles. He's covering other Israelites who defy the word of the Most High. Right? Those who use trickery among the congregation. He's dealing with all of them in one category.
He explained as he goes down, telling you where he come from too.
All right, now let's leave that alone. Let's get into some of the other little pieces here, and then we'll open up the lines, okay? Who made up the saying, man's best friend? Okay? Who have a culture of having dogs? Now, it doesn't take a lot of thought for us to see what peoples on this earth just love their dogs, but we're going to see that, okay? Why there's a connection between them and dogs. Why Israel used the term dogs to refer to these nations. There's a reason why, okay? The statement that the dog is the man's best friend was first recorded as being made by Frederick II, King of Prussia. Prussia is an area between, that's close to Germany, okay? Well, that's part of the German Reich at the time. Referring to one of his Italian greyhounds as his best friend, okay? The term was likely popularized by its use in a poem by Ogden Nash. It has since become a colloquialism, and refers to domestic dogs, highlighting their close relations, loyalty, and companionship with humans. Okay, and you can get some more on Wikipedia. Now let's take a look at some images. Now, it doesn't take much, but the Gentiles have a culture of kissing the dogs. They love to kiss their dogs. The dogs will lick them in the face and the mouth, and they have no problems with that. And I have some things to show you why they do this. Okay? But that's what they do. Just going to let you all see that for a second, and then we're going to turn it to our next slide. But you can just do a Google search, and you see that you may find one or two non-Gentiles doing this, but the majority are Gentiles. The reason why it's only one or two, because these are our people that are destroyed or some other nation that look similar to us. But this is the mindset, okay, of the Gentiles. All right? Now let me read this article that I have here. Could a kiss from your dog be good for you? This is found in the United Kingdom, England, the Daily Mail. This is what it says. Could a kiss from your dog be good for you? It says canine germs may act as a probiotic, experts say. Probiotic. Where do you find probiotics? In yogurts. Listen to what they say. Scientists believe microbes from a dog's gut could be good for their owner. believe they have probiotic effect, boosting the immune system. Probiotics or good bacteria help keep the intestines healthy. Researchers are looking for volunteers to take part in a study to test the theory. Dr. Kelly, along with researchers at the University of San Diego, will explore whether living with a dog encourages the growth of positive microorganisms in the human gut, enough to improve physical and mental health in older adults. Quote, what we essentially want to find out is a dog acting like yogurt in having a probiotic effect, she said. Existing research show that dogs and their owners share much of the same gut bacteria over time. Let me read it again. Existing research show that dogs and their owners share much of the same gut bacteria over the time. So whatever your dog has, you got it too. Whatever your dog has, you're going to get it too. In addition, some studies have shown that dogs enhance the immune system of children, reducing the risk of illness, including asthma and allergies. Does that make sense to you? Let's move on. Now, this is where I'm going to let this sit for a minute. This is where they get the probiotic effect from. See, the dogs have a way of cleaning themselves. When the dog cleans himself a certain way, which you can see on the screen, and then the dog turn around and lick a person in their face, that probiotic germ, bacteria or plague or whatever you want to call it, that comes from the dog's rectum, goes into your body, and guess what? Now you got what the dog has. Israel doesn't do that, you see. See, we as Israelites should not have these creatures within our homes. We shouldn't be interacting. That's why Israel called the Gentiles dogs. It was a kind of a password, like a code word. That's what I'm looking for. It was a code word to insult the Gentiles or to insult any Hebrew who were like a Gentile. Do you know in the Middle East to call a person a dog is a high insult? Let's continue. This is also another news piece. Is it altogether healthy to you smooch your pooch? Let me read it again. Is it altogether healthy to you smooch your pooch? Photos show dog owners French kissing Fido. But as a new photo series shows, some people are taking their relationship with man's best friend to the next level with full-on make-out sessions. In his latest project, playful title, quote, For the Love of Dog, that's what it's called, the project, For the Love of Dog. I hope you all understand how they're trying to insult the Most High, right? Philadelphia-based lifestyle photographer Chris Sembrot created portraits of dog lovers French kissing their four-legged pals. I'm just giving you a little bit. You can do the research on this thing to see how nasty these people really are. Nasty. Huh? And these are the same people that will offer you food. The same people that will cook. The same people that we have to deal with at restaurants and stuff. See, that's why we have to be separate. The Most High, when the Most High said to be you separate, he was trying to protect us. But we don't get it. We still want to mingle with these people. And that's why the Most High have to cut us off so we can learn our lesson. This is the last one. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 14 to 16. Revelation chapter 22, verses 14 to 16. Then I'm going to open up the mic, and y'all can speak your mind as long as you want. I'm not going anywhere. I'll give you all a chance to express yourselves and to share what the Most High has placed on your hearts.
Yes, Lord.
Revelation chapter 22, verses 14 to verses 16.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
The Most High has his house, and no dog is going to come in. Nothing unclean is going to come into his house. That's how we live as Hebrews. Your dog doesn't come into your house. That's his house. He is the big chief. He's the one who's teaching us how we should live. But our people are living like the Gentiles. We're not living like our king. Verse 15, read.
For without our dogs,
outside his house are dogs, read.
Sorcerers, whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
But remember, this term dogs is a catchword or code word for Gentiles.
I, Yeshua, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches or in the assembly.
So who's telling us this?
Yeshua.
Yeshua is trying to warn us. Read on it. Read that again, 16.
I, Yeshua, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the congregation.
Now check this out. Jubilees already said he doesn't send other spirits to us. He deals with us directly. Amen. And he has his angels that bring the messages to us. That's what it says in Jubilees, right? So what does he do? Verse 16 says he sends his angel to testify unto you these things in a congregation. Read on.
I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star.
He's letting us know his connection is with Israel.
Yes.
The city that is 4 square does not have the name of any Gentile on it, brothers and sisters. No church. It's all Israel. I hope we really get that understanding. So now, I'm going to open up the mics and let all of you all come in and share your understanding. So, loved ones, what do you have to say? Talk to me. Talk to me, brothers and sisters. Let me hear what's on your mind. And if you're upset and you got something to say, you can bring it out too. No problem. Anyone on the conference call has anything to share? Yes?
Hello? This is Rosie.
Hey, Rose.
I don't... hello? Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't remember the exact part of Leviticus. I think it is. I'm not sure. But it said that, you should not even expose yourself, like be naked in front of your dog. Don't eat or drink from the same vessel, fountain, or anything that he drank from. It is unclean. It's abomination.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Bible warns us.
I can't hear you.
I said absolutely. The Most High warns us not to have these types of relationships with these animals, the mixing.
Yep.
Any others? Any questions? Any comments?
Good night.
Good night, Stana.
Good night.
Good night.
Leviticus 18 to 20 is what was talking about not lying down with a dog or so forth. You have to look at that in Leviticus chapter 18 to 20. It gives you the direction of what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. But this afternoon on the news, they was talking about in Germany where the people that is trying to escape from Syria, and they were said they had a big some kind of a festival that was going on in Germany, and then they was talking about the food that they was eating. They were saying they had a lot of drinks and beers, and they said that the pig was so plentiful among the people that it was eating. They were showing that there was it was showing you how it was having all of this piece with the pork. And it was saying, you know, and that's Germany, you know, that's one of the Gentile countries.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, so that's one of the delicacies, and they love it. They say they love it. So now you're speaking about that, you know, we can see how people today interact with the dogs. And they always say the dogs are not clean because, you know, they lick themselves, and sometimes the male carry a certain pus right on the, you know, the private pus. So, you know,
We're losing you. We're losing you.
Especially if you have small children to have those animals within your home, within your house. All right, thank you.
Yes, thanks for sharing that. And that's a very important point that you made. You know, we will have to see the problem is we have the ungodly people, the Gentiles, teaching us that their ways are the right ways and not the Most High's ways. And so we have put aside the word of the Most High and overlooked the word of the Most High and adopted the Gentiles. Says, well, the doctor knows what he's talking about. Yeah, the dog's mouth, you know, some people would say the dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's mouth. Yeah, it's cleaner for another dog, but not for us.
They glorify these things. They have them things glorifying on all the computer and all the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see they have those advertisement. So they glorify them, and other people look at them. They have toothpaste for them and toothbrush for them and all this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making the people comfortable in, you know, having the dogs around them.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
So a question. So all this toothpaste and whatever that they use in the dog's mouth, right? After the dog finished pooping, then he brushes his teeth. You know, that's impossible because a dog uses his mouth to clean his butt at all times. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when the dog has things coming from his butt like parasites, he drags his butt on the ground.
That's right.
And he licks his butt. We don't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't see the connection there.
Let me tell you something. I was driving on the road the other day. I'll have you read that in a second, okay? I was on my way home from work, and I took a picture of a car, the bumper sticker on a car, and you know it says in blue, "Dog is love." You know how people have like a sign that says "God is love"? This lady has on her bumper, and it's a Gentile, a young, blonde Gentile, and it says "Dog is love," and I can't blame her. I mean, for her, dog is love. So, go ahead and read what you want to bring.
Well, in the book of Leviticus 18, it says that if anybody sleep with a beast, they defile themselves that way. And it says the reason why he doesn't want us to mingle with these people, because these are the way they defile themselves. You see, it says that neither shall thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith, neither shall anyone stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Mm-hmm. Defile not he yourself in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled.
In what?
In all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. Mm-hmm. And the land is defiled, therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it. And the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants.
Not only
so what he's saying is that those things where he says with beasts and stuff like that, they defile themselves with these things. That's why he's telling you, do not mingle with them, because they do these things.
Absolutely.
And he knows them, you know, so. And it says here also in Deuteronomy 23:18, it says, "Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow, for even this is an abomination unto the Lord."
What does it mean by price of a dog? I mean, there's a hippopotamus, there's price of a wolf, or price of, because the stuff is defiled. Remember?
Right.
Don't leave nothing except for take those things. The Most High knows what he's talking about. Mm-hmm. Because certain things, when you come in contact with those things, you get the plagues that goes with it. Mm-hmm. And when you bring, these things into the camp of Israel, your house is defiled, the land is defiled. You got all kinds of diseases in the soil that plagues your crops. You got all kinds of worms and all kinds of parasites, as the sister said, that that travels, tracks from the doors of your house into your that's one of the reasons why we don't wear shoes in our homes. When we come home, we take our shoes off at the door. It stays there. We keep certain things clean. We wash ourselves properly, or whatever it is. But the other nations, they go right in their bed with the shoes on. Their feet has been everywhere. And the Most High is warning us not to be like these people. But our people are so stubborn. We want to be like Jenny. We want to be like Jack. We want to be like all these people. The Most High says, no, you are special people. That's why you are healthy and strong. We don't have to depend on medicines, worm medicines, and all kinds of medicines, because we are obedient to the Most High. Any other comments, any questions, brothers and sisters? Everyone understand the teaching so far? I hope it's been helpful as a bridge from John 3:16. The Most High says he loved the world, but he's speaking about the world of Israel. In this context, again, with the Gentiles, we can see the labeling from the book of Genesis that Japhetic European people are called Gentiles, and then you have the Edomites and the Ishmaelites, and then you have all these other nations that were called. And then the same terrible title, dog, was referred back to our people that left the house of Israel and went into these other nations. Now they became mixed, and whatever slop that they eat, we eat. That's the reason why Yeshua gave the parable of the prodigal son. That son who traveled to a far country is the 10 tribes of Israel that got mixed among the nations, lived their lifestyle, became a citizen, and was eating the pig slop. But then he repented and he came back home, and the Father received him. And this is all he was trying to say. All these different parables was pertaining to the house of Israel. So, with that said, I hope everyone has learned something tonight. There's so much more we're going to get into, but you have to be patient. It takes time to learn things, and it takes time to hold on to those things that you have learned. Okay? So, with that said, we're going to close up, and I will ask Elder if he can come in and close up the room in Yeshua's name, and we will continue. We have Feast of Tabernacles, the last great day, Shabbat, that is going to be coming in a few days, so please prepare yourself. And I will also send out, after the feast, I will send out an email letting everyone know when we're going to start the Hebrew classes, the Torah classes again, so that you can get some time to prepare yourself and get ready for some other levels of study. All right, so with that said, Elder, you still with us?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over to you. If you can close up with prayer. I want to say to everyone, love you.
That's okay.
Thank you for joining us. I hope the Most High, and I pray that the Most High bless and keep you, and that he strengthens us and return back to rescue us in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Hallelujah. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you again for another day, another night We thank you again for your words, dear Lord. It is so important. It is so precious when we see and we read and we look at it to see the difference between your children and the other people. Father God, every time that I see the words and I read it, it blesses my heart. I thank you again for the teacher that takes his time to study these words and to impart it unto us. We pray a special blessing upon his life and his family. And also we pray for our brethren that is on the line listening tonight. We ask your blessing upon everyone. Likewise, we also remember our little brother in the hospital that is sick. We pray, Holy Father in heaven, that thou may touch him. Dear God, thou may give him a shake-up tonight, dear Lord, from the crown of his head to the sole of his feet, and wake him up, dear Father, that he will revive. And dear God, and we will give you the praise and the glory. Ask it. Through your Son, Yeshua name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen, Mishpachah. So I hope that everyone has enjoyed tonight's study. It will be up and running, and look at the teaching tonight as we continue our path and walk to learn more and to understand this truth. I ask the Most High to bless and keep you in Yeshua's holy name.
Isa